Hi class, I'm going to do a demo on assignment 4.3, the rectangular array. And so here I have 8 patterns drawn, but you only need to create 6 of them. All right, and so I already have a screenshot of this pasted into my drawing file, and I'm just going to start up here with the top left pattern. So I'm going to create a line that's 3/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and then I can do CL to close that. And then I can actually create the pinwheel pattern by doing a polar array and selecting this endpoint and then changing the number of items to 4. Here we go. And then now I want to create, so it automatically opened the array tab, but I'm going to go back to home and I'm going to do the rectangular array pattern now. Okay, so I have 4 columns by 4 rows. So I'm going to change that, and the space between is 3/8. So it's a space between this center and this center. So it'll be 3/8 plus 1/8 plus 3/8. So that is 7/8. So 7 divided by 8 and 7 divided by 8. All right, and so there's my pinwheel pattern. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to this diamond shape. So I can, let's see here, I can do polygon. I could say number of sides 4, specify center or edge, and I'm going to do here, and then the edge length is 1/2 or 0.5. There we go. And then I can create an array out of this. So I'm going to go to the array command, and it's 3 by 3. And here we go. And then for the spacing, I don't know exactly what it is because it says 1/2 is the length here, but I don't know what the length is in here. And I could figure it out. It requires some math, but I don't necessarily need to. So if I select this grip here, it would create more items. But if I select this one in here, it would create, I can move this to change the spacing of my array. So I'm just going to adjust it manually like so. There we go. And then there is also a square inside that. So I'm going to do rectangle, and I will choose from here to here, and I'm going to create an array out of that too. So I only need 2, but I don't know the spacing between these either. If I close this, so if I open this back up, if I were to expand this, it's just going to create more objects. Actually, I can't actually change the spacing because there's only 3. So I'm going to create another one. And then now I have the grip to change the spacing, and I'll change it here. And then I'm just going to move it back. There we go. And I'll do the same thing here. So I'm going to increase it to 3. Now I'm going to grab my other grip to adjust the spacing. And then now I'm going to adjust these both back down to 2. Oops. There we go. And then I can close that. And something I forgot to mention about the arrays, if you were to edit one of them, it will edit all the other objects in the array, similar to a block. So let's say I say edit source, And then it's saying select the item, right? So I'm just going to select this one as my source. I'll say OK. All right, and then now if I were to change something here, it's going to change that for all of them. See? Like that. Okay, I don't actually want to do that, but that is something special about the arrays. And let me go ahead and save this. I want to save frequently, so I'm going to save this right now. And I will name this appropriately. You would put your initials onto it. And I'll go ahead and move on to this circle one. So I have a circle here with a radius of 1/4. I'll spacebar to repeat, radius of 1/2. And let's see here. So 0.12 or 0.5, sorry, and then 0.5. So 1/2, 1/2. I have another circle here. And the radius for this is 1/8. Okay, and I can go ahead and copy this, or I can create an array out of this as well. Let me see how I want to do it. So let me move this over. So I'll select array, and I have 3 columns and 3 rows. And the space between each one is 1 inch. Okay. So that has a lot of the circles, but not quite all of them. So I can edit the source, although they are going to overlap. So now let's go ahead and practice editing that source. So I'll say OK. So I'll take this and I'll copy it. And you might find a different way to complete this assignment. That's completely fine. Not only fine, but recommended. So do it any way that you see fit. Oops. So I want to copy this. Let's see, did it do it? Oh, it did do it already. So I'll go ahead and save the changes. And I have another circle within side here. So I'll do a 2-point circle. It looked like it's from here to here, and then I'll create an array out of this. And do I know the spacing? So it will also be 1 inch. So I'll say -1 here and 1 here. And let me close that one. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and open this in my other screen as well. So now I'm going to create this shape. So I see it's a 3 by 3 box. I can start there so I can see at 3, comma 3. And then I have a circle with a radius of 2. So if I go here and I go this way, it wants me to do I can manually enter the circle diameter. That's what it's saying in my command line. So the radius is 2, the diameter will be 1. All right. And then I can trim this and I can create an array out of this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 columns, 1 row. And the space between them looks like it is 1/2 or 0.5. I'm going to say negative, -0.5. And then this should be 1 row. Okay, so let's make sure the correct number of objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that looks correct. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy this because it's the same on the bottom. And then I can also mirror this. No, I don't want to erase the source object, and I will move this over. And I always want to be selecting some kind of point when I'm trying to match my move point to something else. All right, so there's that pattern. And I have this one that I need to do next. So the spacing between these lines is 1/8, and the length is 3/4. So 3/4, and I can use a bunch of different arrays for this one. So I'm going to first do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it looks like. And that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I could do 7 columns and 1 row. And the spacing between is 1/8. So I'll go ahead and close that. And then now I can take this and I will do a polar array with 4 items. Let's see if this works. I'm not quite sure if it will. Oops. Select array object, enter the center point right here. 4. Right, and that looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just gonna double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I'll close that, and then I'm going to do one more array. So I can either do polar here or I can do rectangular. So I'm still practicing rectangular, so I'll go ahead and do it that way. Oops. Actually, I messed up because I wanted to create a new array. Let me undo that. Here we go. Home. And now I'm going to do rectangular. There we go. So I'm going to do 2 and 2. And the spacing between is it 3/4? Or maybe double that. So 1.5, yes. And negative 1.5. And then I'll close that. So I just used the array 3 times to create this pattern here. So quite a bit. And I'm going to save this. Sometimes when you use a lot of arrays, though, it does complicate your drawing a little bit and it makes the drawing file somewhat large. So make sure you are saving frequently. All right, and here I have a box of some size, and then I have this chevron pattern in here. So I'll go over here and let's see, 1/2, that's gonna be 1/2. So because it's 1/2 and 1/2, that angle is 45 degrees. I can use that information, but I don't know the length of it. So let's see here. I will go to polyline and I'm going to see, I will go up 0.5 and over 0.5. So that there is 1/2. And I'm going to explode this. So I just have this individual line segment. I'm going to mirror this. No. I'll join this here, and then there's 3 peaks. So I'm going to start just by creating that pattern here. So I'll delete this, join these, and then I'm going to, so there's a 1/4 inch between these lines, and now I'm going to create the array. And then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 rows, 1 column. And actually, I guess I could have just created 1 and then did the whole array this way, but I didn't do it like that, so that's okay. And then 1/4 is 0.25. Okay, and then I can close this. and then mirror this. No, I don't want to erase the source object. And then now I'm going to put my rectangle or my square around it. There we go. I'll go ahead and arrange these nicely once I'm done. All right, so now I have this 3 by 3 box. Let's start here and say at 3, comma 3. And I have this pattern in here. So this one is actually a little bit difficult to recreate, but I'm going to do my best. So it's going to involve some trimming. So I'm going to create an array that I'm either going to explode or have non-associative. So this is 1/4 by 1/4. So each of these lines is 1/4. So I'm going to explode this, and then I can create an array out of this line. Actually, let me undo that. I'm going to create it out of this line. And actually, it doesn't make a difference. It's just whether I wanted to put a negative in there or not. So how many columns do I want? I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It looks like we have 11 or 12. I'm going to say 0 for the rows. And the space between is 1/4. Sorry, not 0 for the rows. I meant to put 1. Okay. And then this is the last grip. Yeah, so that's where I need it to be. So I'm going to close this. So now I have this array, and I'm going to create another array the same way right here. So array, this time I'm going to say 12 rows with 1/4 inch between and 1 column. Close that, and so now I just have this grid, and I'm going to trim away as needed. So I'm going to take both of these and I'm going to explode it. So X to explode. And now I'm going to go ahead and trim this. Actually, before I do that, before I separate it, oops, let me go forward. There we go. That pattern that I have next is actually going to be a little bit similar. So I'm going to copy this over so that way I don't have to do that again. Okay. So now I'll take both of these and explode them. X to explode, and then now I'm going to do my trimming. So TR to trim. I'm just going to create the pattern like how I see it on here. Okay. And so in this case, the array was just used so I can get an evenly spaced pattern. And then I exploded it so I can now use this in my pattern here. So let me make sure I have this right. That's a 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I think that's right. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to create this zigzag pattern with my trim to match it. There we go. All right, so I created that longer one, then a smaller one here. It's a little bit tedious. All right, there we go. And then I just have this one here. And this one is a little bit larger by a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to make it a little bit larger by a 1/4 inch with my array. And it looks like I need to edit my original array. So let me highlight this. I'm going to shift to delete those 2 lines. And then I'm going to edit the source. I'll choose this line as my source. And then I'm going to bring that up here, save the changes, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Edit source. I'll select this one as my source this time. Okay. And then select that one and bring it to this line. And go back a little bit. It's not wanting to snap to that, so I'm gonna do 0.25 right here. And then save the changes. Here we go. And then now I have to explode both of these also, so that way I can create this pattern that I'm seeing right over here. So I'll do trim again. And there might be a different way to do this. You could probably draw one of these boxes and create it the array that way. But this is just how I'm seeing it, and so this is how I've decided to do it. Okay, and there's that pattern. So I'm just going to nicely line all these up with one another, and then I will dimension them. I feel like I have too many object snaps on because it's not always snapping how I want it to. And actually, I think I need to decrease the space between these so I could fit them on my sheet. And normally I like to have these actually perfectly spaced where I would put a line between each one and space it that way. But I'm just going to kind of quickly go through this one today. So, for example, I would create a line here, construction line, I choose some length, say 1.4 or something. Maybe even just one, so I'll go back 0.4. Depending on, no, actually 1.4 is better because I need to put some dimensions here. And then I would move this, move this here, and then I would do it like so. So you don't have to do this. This is just because I like my drawings to be very neat, but as long as it looks well spaced and you are creating your drawings in a logical way where it's easy to read, then that is completely fine too. Then these ones would be aligned with the top and then aligned with the centers of the ones below. And I could have just done it the other way too. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to say shift. I'm going to find the midpoint, put it right there. Here we go. Then I'll delete these construction lines. And I would add my dimensions. So before I do that, I'll go ahead and modify the dimension style to be fractions. Okay, I'll close this. And I'm still in the dim command. And let me go ahead and put these on the appropriate layer. So dimension. I'll change that color to green. And I'm going to turn off a couple of these object snaps because it is snapping a little bit too easily. Okay. The dimension. Here and here. Uh-oh, so this is not correct. So I have to edit this one right here. So this one should be 1/2. Let me go to It should be 1/2, so point 5 and 0.5. So I'm going to edit my source. I'll choose this as my source. Okay. Right here. Here, let me see. I'm going to need a little bit more help here with my lines. So 0.5. And go back here and then go 0.5. Okay. And I want to find the endpoint of that line that I made. All right, does that look right? I need to delete this one. I'll save the changes. Can delete that, and I'm going to move the grip. Okay. So now I have to do a little bit more edits. So the space between these looks like it's going to be 1 and 1 actually, because it'll be just double this. Okay, so I'll close that. Then now I have to edit this one. So first I'm going to move it to this corner. I have to turn midpoint back on. And maybe you didn't mess yours up. Maybe you put in the measurements correctly. So go ahead and fast forward if that's the case. But if not, then you can either start over with this one or you can just edit it like I'm doing here. And I want to, you can try to stretch it. Let's see. Didn't quite work how I wanted to, but that's okay. I'll just do these each individually. And then I'll save the changes. And then with this one, remember I had to, actually I know the spacing, so I can just say 1. I think I was looking at that wrong earlier. And 1, and then I'm going to move this. Okay, here we go. I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to move this whole thing. So I want it to be aligned with that one and this one. There we go. And I'm going to align it right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and continue to dimension this. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the dimension layer and continue from where I left off. Here we go. And then the radius here, spacebar to repeat, spacebar to repeat. And I want to add the spacing for down here. I'm just going to stretch these to be a little bit closer to my drawing. Okay. So from endpoint to endpoint, just trying to snip to, going to, oops, shift, right click, and then do endpoint. There we go. Okay, that works fine. And just a few more. So I'll go from here to here. And I'll do from here to here. It shows a little different on the assignment, but it's the same thing. So I just moved it here for a little bit of readability. So it's not right next to that 1/8. There we go. One half. There we go. And my dimensions are aligned. And that's not fitting super well, so I'm gonna do it over on this side over here. All right, and so that's all dimensioned. And then of course, you guys only need to do 4 patterns. And I'm going to go into my viewport and adjust it accordingly. And then this is actually not to scale, so you can adjust it however it fits best. I do like to start off with some round numbers and then adjust it. And actually that fits in here pretty well. So I will use this as my scale. And of course I'll populate my title block, save it appropriately, and plot it to PDF. All right, thank you guys.